About a month ago, I was down in Houston commissioning a system for a great piano bar. It was a fulcrum acoustic system with a Linear Research integrated DSP and amp. The integrator did a great job putting everything up. The wires were ran. I kicked on the power amp after trying to troubleshoot something with the sub since it wasn't getting as much juice as I thought, and pow. Smoke came out. The whole system went down. The band was rehearsing on stage and realized nothing was coming through the PA, and they looked back at me and thought, hey, what's going on? And I had to have the embarrassing moment of saying, hey, I know you found me from this YouTube channel. You trusted me with your hard-earned money. I've designed you a great system, and I come down here to finish it. At the very end, I literally blow it. So today I want to share with you what happened after that, how I handled it, and what were some of the key learnings I hope to share with you that I hope not to repeat again on my next project, and also share with you. Thankfully, they were super cool about it. I had time to fix it. I'm going to walk you through that process and show you exactly what happened. As you can see, I'm not in my normal recording environment. We're visiting family this weekend, so I'm coming to you from my mother-in-law's bedroom, and hopefully a tiny little dog doesn't walk across over here. But anyway, thanks for hanging around. Hope to share with you so you can learn from my mistake. Let's jump right in. Let me first give you some project background to show you exactly where I went wrong technically. Then we'll talk about how I made it right, and then the key things that I learned. So you can see here in the design file, it has a low ceiling. I guess you can't see that, but it's a distributed point source system. There's a little VIP area over here, which the client had some of their own K12s here. But in the fulcrum acoustic system, where they're CCX 120 degree by 40 or 60 degree boxes, and then a little center downfill. And then right here in the center was that center sub, the CS212L. And I really liked it. It sounded awesome. It is a passive cardioid enclosure, and it has two 12-inch woofers. So what I failed to realize is that even though it's two 12s, if I zoom in here on the spec sheet, pin 1 is one driver, then pin 2 is the other driver. I had a single NL2 cable driving to it, only had one amp channel allocated. So I could have just jumpered it, but I didn't have the materials to do that while I was commissioning the system, but I did have another drive line. So I ran that, and I forgot to move that NL2 cable from, which usually on pins 1 on both sides, to pin 2. And that's what made the short circuit and blew the amp. So jumping ahead to a key learning is always read the wiring diagram. And I'm going to show you the differences and where I ended up. Okay, so after I blew it and I'm sitting there, there's smoke coming out of the rack. It's a loud pop. The client's on stage and sees that, or it hears that there's no sound coming through what happened. So first, I communicated very clearly once I realized that the amp was indeed blown that I was going to take care of any additional expense, whether that's the repair, replacing it outright, and also making sure that it's going to be recommissioned once it's back in, because I knew I was going to have to ship it off and best case get the repair. So I assured them that yes, I owned the mistake and I'm going to make it right. Number 2 is in the interim before the piano bar was slated to open, which I actually think their grand opening is this weekend. I was going to have a local tech to Houston come by and check out the speakers and make sure they were fine. I got on the horn with Scott Pizzo at Fulcrum Acoustic, who was great, and I said, hey, here's what happened. What do you think? Do you think the speakers are fine? He said, I probably think they're fine, but test them anyway. So I did. So I hired a local tech in Houston to bring his own power amp and NL4 cable and run pink noise through each of the speakers and make sure continuity and the tonality speakers were right. This particular platform with Fulcrum Acoustic requires their own FIR filters to get the speakers to their desired response. So I made sure my tech, Sam Hester, who shout out to him for going out there and making it happen, knew that the speakers weren't going to sound quite right since they didn't have the FIRs, since the amp was gone that had the processing built in. But he went there, blew pink noise through every speaker and made sure they all worked, and thankfully they did. So thank you, Fulcrum Acoustic, for making products that could stand up to my intermittent stupidity. All right. And then thirdly, I, as the project manager, said, hey, client, I'm going to take care of everything. So that's I made sure and got the shipping labels. I handled communications with Linear Research's repair facility or their repair partner. And I talked with the Fulcrum Acoustic rep about any other things I need to know. So I got things shipped off, they got it repaired. Thankfully, did not have to be out the entire cost of a new unit. And then I was able to pay for a new set of flights, a new hotel, and come back down and recommission the system after the amp got brought back in. So with that, I also had to make a new layout. So let me show you V1 of the line diagram and where I should have spotted my mistake, and then I'll show you V2 after I got it done right. I've been using this new tool called Whimsical to do my line diagrams, which has been great. And here on the left, I have the X32 rack, which is the analog outputs are feeding into the amp. So I had the Linear Research LR44C06. So the mix out left is going analog 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3. They wanted a separate sub output. And then we had matrices 5 and 6 just passed into the K12s that were our outfills. And those are active speakers, so they just went directly in. And we didn't use output 7 and 8. I also included a diagram here on the back to show what the back panel of the amp looked like. And then moving here to the speak-on outputs that fed the CCX 1226, the main house left, then the main house right, the same thing, and then the center sub. So this is where I went wrong. I was like, oh yeah, it's just, a single drive element to each, 4 amp channels, 4 speakers, away we go. Again, if I would have paid attention to the wiring diagram and made sure I knew what I was getting myself into, this would have been better. So my notes is that I needed to be more detailed on exactly how many conductors were in the NL2 or NL4 cables, and so I redid the line diagram, and now I have them color-coded, where blue is XLR, and I'm making sure to note it is female to male XLR. Same thing here, so I like that feature within Whimsical that can actually label the line and also make it colored. And then on the speak-on outputs, I'm saying, hey, this is a 2-conductor NL2, that can go to the CCX 1226, and then I had it daisy chain over to the house right. And so these speakers only needed about 700 watts at 8 ohms, and I had 1500 per channel, so we were in good shape there. So I actually daisy chained them, had plenty of headroom, had a dedicated amp channel for the center downfill, and then speak on out 3 and 4. If we move down here to the amp on a single output, it can have amp channels 3 and 4 on the NO4 connector on pins 1 and 2. And so I have the 4 conductor passes over to the CS212L, and I noted here it's 2 12-inch drivers, channel 3 to the left driver, which is 1 hot and cold, then channel 4 to the right driver, which is 2 hot and cold. So this is the new wiring diagram, and so if I would have just been more detailed from the get-go, looking at the specific conductors to the specific drivers, I probably would have caught this and had the right cable ran and saved myself some heartache and stress. So wrapping up here are the 3 big things that I learned. First is to slow down, take a breath, and ask the dumb question. I remember when I was actually running the new cable to test the second driver to the sub, I was looking at the back of the wiring diagram and I was like, oh yeah, I think I know what's happening, and that word I think is dangerous, especially when lots of money and time and effort and resources are on the line. And I think if I just would have sat with it a little bit more and really digested what was going on, I was just having a not good moment of understanding what's going on. And I feel like if I would have slowed down, I would have caught it. Number 2 is just be honest with your clients. Again, it doesn't feel fun to be on the hook for a $6,000 power amp plus all the shipping and travel expenses to come back. But thankfully, since it was repaired and quickly and shipped back and not expensive at all, I was in good shape. But I just said, hey, this is my bad. I'm going to take care of it, and I know that's the right thing to do. And a really cool moment I want to share with you is that the piano bar team actually has 5 regular performers, and one of them came up to me after I literally blew it, and he said, we're not in a great situation, but I want to say this is the first time I've ever heard a sound human admit they did something wrong. So a silver lining there, something I learned, and so humility and honesty goes a long way. And being honest about that was really cool, that I was in a tough spot and I was able to go to the manufacturers at Linear Research and Fulcrum Acoustic. So that was Scott Pizzo at Fulcrum, and then the repair tech for Linear, who's at Allied Tech Partners. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, but out in California is Rick Kirby. So he actually talked me through the amp when I called him and said, hey, is this really broke? He said, I think it is. And both of those fine gentlemen were awesome. So thank you so much for helping me out there. And last thing is map out the solution all the way through. So going back to the line diagram, if I would have noted every single cable and every single conductor and didn't just leave anything up to chance as far as specificity, I wouldn't have ran into this problem. So this going forward is my new way to do line diagrams, making sure every single cable type is outlined and good to go. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for helping me unpack and therapeutically go through this hard experience. And I'm really glad the client is now happy. This system sounds great. This really came out best case scenario, giving me blowing a really expensive piece of gear. I would love for you to let me know below in the comments, have you had any similar experiences? Have you really messed up on a show publicly and felt really embarrassed, and how did you recover and what did you learn from it? My name is Michael Curtis. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll catch you next time.